Doesn't look like there's 112. I don't know. All right, if you can please find a seat, and we'll begin. It is 6 o'clock. We'll call the regular meeting of the Sonoma City Council to order on May 15th, 2024. Please turn off your cell phones, anything that might be a distraction this evening, and we will begin our meeting. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas.
Yeah.
Here.
Councilmember Wellander.
Here.
Councilmember Ding.
Present.
Councilmember Lowe.
Here.
Mayor Gurney.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I threw that curveball on purpose. Please rise and join me to pledge allegiance and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America,
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Let's see here. There was no closed session, so no report. And we will entertain an approval of the agenda, but I would like to recommend, let's do a little inquiry. How many people plan to speak tonight? Okay. All right. I'd like to suggest two things. We have a number of presentations, and I would like to move the presentations before public comment. And then also, I would like to minimize the public comment to 2 minutes. Is there agreement, consensus on that?
I approve the agenda with those modifications. I move the agenda with those modifications.
I'll second that.
Roll.
Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas.
Yes.
Councilmember Wellander.
Yes.
Councilmember Ding.
Aye.
Councilmember Lowe.
Aye.
Mayor Gurney.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you. Are there any meeting dedications this evening? Seeing none, we'll move along. So we'll do item number 6, presentations. And we have a number of presentations tonight. Is Kimberly Smith in the room? Kimberly, step up to the podium, please.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. I'll go first,
Okay.
and then you'll get to talk to us.
Okay.
Okay. So this proclamation is declaring the week of May 19th through the 25th of 2024 as Classified School Employee Week in the city of Sonoma. And whereas in 1986, California Senate Bill 1552 established the third week of each May as Classified School Employee Week in order to recognize the vital contributions of classified employees. And classified school employees provide valuable service to the schools, students, and the Sonoma Valley Unified School District. And classified school employees contribute to the establishment and promotion of a positive instructional, I think I need to go back to school, environment. And classified school employees play a vital role in providing for the welfare and safety of the district's students. And classified school employees employed by the Sonoma Valley Unified School District strive for excellence in all areas relative to the educational community. Therefore, I, John Gurney, Mayor of the City of Sonoma, do hereby recognize and wish to honor the classified school employees of the Sonoma Valley Unified School District for their contributions to quality education in the state of California, and hereby declare the week of May 19th through the 25th, 2024, as Classified School Employee Week. So with that, I have a proclamation to present. And what do you do in the school district?
I am I'm the office manager at Altamira. I'm also the chapter president for our Moon Valley Chapter 376.
Very good.
Yes.
Well, thank you for coming out
That's
tonight.
wonderful.
Thank you, Mayor Gurney and city council members of Sonoma. Mayor Gurney, you took most of my speech, but I will continue. I do want to thank you for recognizing the Classified School Employees Association, CSEA. And you were right, in 1986, you did your homework well. You don't need to go back to school. In 1986, California Senate Bill 1552 was established to recognize the third week in May to be Classified School Employees Week. We are the employees who bring the students to school safely. We feed their little tummies. We support the academics in class. Behind the scenes, we make sure technology is working, campuses are safe, cleaned, and well-groomed. Finally, all of the clerical staff work together as a team to make sure everything is running smoothly. Me, as an office manager, a lot of times people say, I run the school, but I don't. I just make sure it runs smoothly. We are the essential employees. A day without classified employees is a day where students are not in the classroom. We empower generations, supporting the working, side by side, the young employees that are coming up in the world. CSEA as a whole supports members with training. We recognize and celebrate our members. We are the biggest, the largest in the United States. California School Employees Association is over 270,000 California members. Our little Moon Valley chapter has over 220 members. So that's Chapter 376. And as I end every speech and newsletter, better together, stronger united. Thank you again for providing us with this proclamation tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Mayor Gurney, if I may.
Yes, you may.
I just want to, as someone who spent a good deal of my time on school campuses as a teacher and as a working for the California Teachers Association, schools just completely would be dysfunctional without classified employees. I remember every year we'd have to figure out what the bus schedule was, and it was just like the teachers, it's like, whatever they say it is, that's what it is, because they're the ones that are going to have to get the kids there, and they're the ones that are going to have to make sure they cross the street safely, and we'll just show up when you all make up your mind it's time for us to show up. So it's just really important. My daughter is works in a kitchen, where she lives, and a lot of the bonds that happen between kids happen with the classified employees. They're the caring adults that a lot of kids reach out to when they feel like maybe there isn't a caring adult in the classroom or at home, and so you do a lot more. So I just want to personally say that and honor all of the work that you do and how important it is to the kids, and certainly my kids really made a big impression on them. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Kelly Autumn. Hi. Come to the podium, please.
Hello.
Hi. Are you ready?
I think so.
Excellent. Okay.
Thank you.
Here is a proclamation for May 2024 proclaiming Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And whereas Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the United States was celebrated beginning in 1978 and was made into a month-long event in 1992 to honor and recognize the contributions and achievements of the Asian American Pacific Islander community. And Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in the Sonoma Valley have largely gone unrecognized, especially concerning their contributions to agriculture. With the help of approximately 200 Chinese laborers, Buena Vista Winery was built in 1857 as the first California premium winery. After the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, Japanese farmers built successful family farms and contributed statewide to creating successful strawberry and other farming techniques. Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have been part of the history of the United States of America for over 200 years, contributing to the economy, culture, education, politics, arts, literacy, science, and technological developments, despite institutional and systemic injustices designed to prevent and limit these achievements and contributions. It is essential to reject and combat all forms of racism, bigotry, and xenophobia, and to promote understanding, respect, and solidarity among all members of our community. Therefore, I, John Gurney, Mayor of the City of Sonoma, do hereby proclaim May 2024 as Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the City of Sonoma. There you go.
Wow. Thank you, Mayor Gurney. Thank you, Councilmember Jack Ding, and all city council members and guests here tonight in attendance. It is my greatest honor to receive this proclamation today on behalf of Sonoma. As an Asian American and a direct descendant of Chinese immigrants who came to Northern California to seek a better life, I am proud to have been chosen to hold a light and honor their histories and untold stories, and to highlight the valuable contributions of the many nameless Chinese laborers and merchants who were pioneers within the wine country in and around Sonoma Valley. Alongside Councilman Jack Ding, together we pay tribute to Sonoma's legacy, stories to honor and remember the past, the present day, and the future Asian American and Pacific Islander generations. This proclamation is a celebration of heritage, culture, and the achievements of Asian Americans. It is an important step to keep advancing the equity, opportunity, safety, and inclusion for all AAPI communities and those less served in Sonoma. Thank you so much. It's an honor.
I thought you might.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor Gurney. Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, you are the truly representative for our AAPI representative in our Sonoma Valley. I'm so excited, and today we have representative representing the AAPI in the community. You know, if we go back 150 years ago, here in Sonoma, and we have the 25% population were Chinese laborers. They are the builders, although they are nameless, they will be forgotten, but they truly help us to build our community. We never forget, just like Mayor Gurney said, let us celebrate this holiday for AAPI Heritage Month. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Eris Weaver. Hello.
Hi.
This is Proclamation Month, actually, I think. This is a proclamation proclaiming May 2024 as Bike Month, and specifically May 16th, 2024 as Bike to Work Day in the city of Sonoma. And whereas May is National Bike Month, promoted by the League of American Bicyclists and celebrated in communities from coast to coast since 1956, a chance to showcase the many benefits of bicycling and encouraging more people of all ages and abilities to give biking a try. Since 2004, May has been Bike Month and has been celebrated across Sonoma County region, and events planned throughout the month to promote and encourage people to try bicycling and for some of their trips and outings. Every day is a good day to choose to ride a bike, but May is special because people want to get outside, enjoy the beautiful city of Sonoma in warmer weather, and enjoy the city's bike lanes and trails for recreational riding, commuting, and seeing the city we call home. A recent study found that when an individual replaces one car trip per day with a bike trip, I knew you'd find this interesting, that person reduces their carbon emissions from transportation by 67%. Just one small change in your daily life, which contributes to a healthier future for our planet and nation. Since using a bike for transportation can help improve personal health and air quality, the City of Sonoma residents should be encouraged to try an active alternative for transportation, such as biking instead of a car. Celebrating May as Bike Month is simple. Go for a ride, any ride, whether it's a short trip for coffee or a miles-long ride, for any way you choose to ride a bike. It is the right way to ride the bike. And whereas Thursday, May 16th, is Bike to Work Day, and encourage everyone, to join in a host of cycling activities, challenges, and classes throughout the month of May. Therefore, I, John Gurney, Mayor of the City of Sonoma, on behalf of the City Council of the City of Sonoma, hereby proclaim the month of May 2024 as Bike Month, and Thursday, tomorrow, May 16th, as Bike to Work Day in the City of Sonoma. There you go. Let me ride my bike over here and present this to you.
Here, were you doing with my camera too?
This is near and dear to my heart.
First one. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Great. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, the rest of the council. For anyone else in the room who doesn't know who I am, Eris Weaver, I'm the Executive Director of the Sonoma County Bicycle Coalition. This is the 30th year that Bay Area-wide has celebrated Bike to Work Day and Bike Month, although ever since COVID and with more people working remotely, we're sometimes calling it Bike to Wherever Month or Wherever Day, so it doesn't have to be work. One of the things that I've always loved about this event is that it's a gateway drug. That I have heard from so many people who are now avid cyclists who had never occurred to them to ride a bike for transportation until someone in their office organized a team for the day or some other event and they got hooked. So that's just one of the many encouragement programs that we as an organization offer. Others include our bike valet, which you all are familiar with because we've been out here for many events to help people ride instead of drive. We do education programs such as our Safe Routes to School and Family Bike Workshops, many of which we've done out here. And tomorrow you can get a messenger bag full of bike goodies at Operation Bicycle. Highway 12 is our giver outer of swag tomorrow. And I also just want to add, there's all these reasons why it's good to ride a bike, right? It's good for the planet. It's good for your physical health. It's good for your mental health. But I think it's important to remember that it's fun and it brings joy. Every day, I experience joy on my commute to work. Do you? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, one more. Hang in there, kids. Mr. Berger, step forward, please. So this proclamation is proclaiming the week of May 19th through the 25th of 2024 as National Public Works Week in the city of Sonoma. Connecting the world through public works. Tagline. Whereas public works professionals focus on the infrastructure, facilities, and services that are vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the city of Sonoma. These infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. It is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the city of Sonoma to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in our community. And whereas the year 2024 marks the 64th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association and Canadian Public Works Association, I, John Gurney, Mayor of the City of Sonoma, do hereby designate the week of May 19th through the 25th as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designated to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. And I have a proclamation for you to that effect. Would you like it?
Yes, sir.
Oh. And I have to say that one of the Public Works initiatives was to put bicycle racks in the plaza.
Yes, and they're good ones, too. One, two, three. Thank you.
A few words. And you're going to have an open house?
Mayor Gurney and fellow council members, on behalf of the City of Sonoma Public Works Department, thank you.
Oh, all right. Okay. The next presentation is actually not from us, but it's to us. And this is the Sonoma County Library presentation. And we have a couple of folks, and I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourselves.
My name's Tom Hauser, and I'm your appointee for the last 7.5 years to the Library Commission. It's a joint powers agreement. And I'm here with Erica, and stand up, our manager of the local branch is here also, Sabine Salek. Anyway, I want to just say we're happy to be here. We want to let you guys know what's going on a little more. When I first started 7.5 years ago, the library was operating on a shoestring. With the 1 cent sales tax, we've been able to expand enormously. We have a lot more services that we've been able to provide. We have more hours and so forth. One example, if you saw the Index Tribune, the front page last Friday, We were advertising for people to help with the adult tutoring, the adult literacy tutoring. Now, this is not just to learn a language. This is to learn how to use the language well so that they can improve themselves as people. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Erica and let her go through the slides. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Gurney, City Council members, and staff. I'm happy to be here. I'm Erica Tebow, and I am your County Library Director. And I hope to share some information with you today that you don't already know. I hope that everybody learns a little bit more about their county library system. So as Commissioner Hauser said, we are a joint powers agreement. Last year in July, we completed a community survey to assess how the residents of Sonoma County felt about their library and continued support for the library. And these are the key things that they identified that are most important to them. And that is keeping qualified librarians, reading programs for children, homework help, career support and computers, safe places for children after school, and clean, safe buildings. And this is something that we provide every day. Our library system is comprised of 12 regional libraries, 2 community libraries, that's Forestville and Occidental, 3 special collections, a mobile library vehicle, and an administrative support center located in Rohnert Park. We also have 3 special collections. As a joint powers agreement, we are able to provide more comprehensive library services than you could provide if you were to do this on your own as a city department. You could expect to pay between $4 and $5 million if you were to run the library on your own. But we are able to provide economies of scale and provide a much more comprehensive array of services than you could on your own. These are some of our accomplishments from last year. They include our full implementation of Sunday hours. So this was accomplished in November of 2022. We now have service 7 days a week from 1 to 5. We know that this is a big day for families who love coming to the library on Sundays. We also completed our facilities master plan, which identifies $200 million in facility improvements that need to be done within the next 20 years. That amount is not solely the library's responsibility. As our JPA partners, we share costs. We also began to raise funds for a new library in the Roseland district of Santa Rosa. And at this time, the Library Foundation has raised $1.5 million, and they have already exceeded their goal for this fiscal year. We also signed an MOU with the county to provide librarian service at Juvenile Hall at Los Guilicos. And this is a really unique opportunity. It's a full-time position. It's shared with Los Guilicos Juvenile Hall and Central Santa Rosa. It's 20 hours a week. Most other county libraries only provide 3 to 4 hours a week of professional librarian service. And this position does book clubs, they help select materials for that library, and they do other programs at Los Guilicos. We also applied for and received $5.5 million in grant funding for our buildings through the state library's Building Forward Together system. However, with the state library budget being in deficit, there are potential cuts, and our libraries may be affected by that budget. And there's 2 other things that I will share with you later on that also may be affected by the state library, by the state's budget woes. Your local library is one of our most innovative. In addition to their numerous programs every month, we also have some unique features that I would like to share specifically. Sonoma Valley Library was the first library to get a book locker. They were our pilot for that. They were also our first library to get a study pod. And these are, this is a small enclosed room that fits about 2 people. It's great for tutors, who can work with their students privately. We have now expanded both our BiblioBox program and our study pod program to many other libraries, but the idea was hatched here in Sonoma Valley. And that's partly due to the generosity of the Sonoma Valley Friends and the Kundi family. So that's one of the things that we do. We also have lunch at the library at Sonoma Valley that will be happening this summer. It's 5 days a week it's 5 days a week at lunch. We provide free lunch to any child ages 0 to 18. This is also from a grant from the State Library. This summer's lunch at the library is paid for, but I just heard today that next summer may be in jeopardy, that the $5.5 million for this program is on the chopping block. So I may be contacting you in the next week to ask you to talk to your local and state legislators and let them know how important this funding is. So last year was a banner year for us. We actually had 1.2 people visit our libraries, 1.2 million people visit our libraries, and 120,000 people attend our programs. This is up because of the pandemic, but it's not quite where we were prior to the pandemic. We're getting very close. But what we did see was an enormous expansion of our circulation. And this is, we've exceeded 4 million. This is exceeded all prior years. So this is great news for the library. People are using our services. They're checking out their materials. The blue bar is our physical items, and the orange is our digital. And you can see that our digital has increased exponentially since 2015 before Measure Y. It's actually increased 84% since 2015 and now comprises about 32% of our total circulation. Our budget is $51.3 million this year, and it's primarily people, places, and resources. People make up about 58% of our total budget. That's salary and benefits, with $14 million dedicated to supplies and services. That's all those programs that we provide. And then the 6.73 is our capital program, and those funds are primarily come from our fund balance. But that's the funds that allow us to modernize our libraries and bring them up to 21st century standards. Our collections include 600,000 physical items across 15 locations and multiple formats. That's books, DVDs, audiobooks, and all kinds of other physical materials. We also share our catalog with Lake County and Mendocino County libraries. So if you order a book from us, you might receive it from one of our branches, but you might get it from Lake or Mendocino. We also have a service called Link Plus. This is partly paid for through sales tax funds as well as through the state library. This is a network of 70 libraries in the state of California where you can check out books from. So if you can't find what you are looking for in our library, then you can request this and have it sent from as far as San Diego, San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Rafael. My husband is a filmmaker and uses this all the time to get his really obscure German expressionist films on DVD because not everything is streaming. It's a fabulous service. We also have extensive digital collections that we've been able to add to over the many years. This includes Libby, which is by far our most used e-media platform. If you haven't used it, it has e-audiobooks, it has e-books. We've had 2 years in a row, 1 million checkouts, and we are actually 5th in the state of California for Libby usage. And there's 180 plus library jurisdictions in the state. That is not individual libraries, that is jurisdictions, and Sonoma County is number 5. This is an amazing service that people love, and I use it regularly. We also have many other platforms available, including Press Reader, which has our newspapers, including the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and even the Press Democrat. So you could access those newspapers from Press Reader using your library card. And then we have some learning platforms, LinkedIn Learning and Mango Languages, to help you, learn new software applications, learn a language, and other skills. And then streaming services. So just like Hulu and Netflix, we have Canopy, which is our movie streaming service. And this is a highly curated program where you can get, old movies, foreign films, Oscar-winning movies, Criterion Collection films. It's a really great resource, and I use it regularly. Oops. Next up, we have our library of things. And these are not books. These are other things that we have. And one of the things I'd like to feature is our state parks pass. We have about 400 of these, and you can check them out from your library for 3 weeks, and you can visit as many state parks as you like within that time. This is unfortunately another service that is on the chopping block from the state library. We are also number 5 in the state for usage of state parks passes. So, I'm going to be advocating with my legislators and asking them to restore funds for both the state parks pass program and lunch at the library. We also have focused exclusively on technology as a way to increase access to our libraries. These include our BiblioBox, which I spoke of earlier. This is an outdoor book locker where you can have your holds sent and pick them up any time of day, 24/7. You don't have to worry about the library being open. It's very convenient. As soon as you open the door and remove the books, they are automatically checked out to you. We also have a laptop kiosk. These are for users to use in the library. This is a laptop. They can check out for 2 hours. They can sit anywhere they like. They have flexibility and privacy by using the laptop. Then our mobile library vehicles, our BiblioBus, the blue bus. You might see this in and around the county. It does have regular community stops in the Springs, Glen Ellen, and Kenwood for those users who may not be able to make it to Sonoma Valley Library. And then we have a very extensive hotspot lending program. We lend 1,100 Wi-Fi hotspots. And it's not enough for the demand. These are first come, first serve. We don't allow holds because they are so much in demand that we would never be able to fulfill the number of holds that we have for them. But these are some of the ways that we increase access to technology and our service at the library. So this quote was from an article that I wrote in April for National Library Week. And I think it really encapsulates how people feel about the library. Our library was one of the very few institutions that improved during COVID. The increased access to electronic resources was huge. So now I just want to thank you all for having me and let you know that you have an amazing staff at Sonoma Valley Library, and they provide excellent customer service. I used to live in Sonoma, and I lived 2 blocks away, and it was great going in there every time. They didn't always know that I was the library director, but they always treated me respectfully and with professionalism, and I know that I can count on our staff to do that. And now I will take any questions.
Questions, anybody? I do. And this may be a little unfair, but you mentioned that there was $200 million worth of capital improvements over the next 20 years. What's the dollar amount for Sonoma?
Well, I don't have that number handy, but I can find it. And it is a combination of ADA improvements and just basic facility maintenance. I think your building is actually in pretty good condition. It's not in our list, in our facilities master plan. It's somewhat at the bottom. So that means that we don't really have to do a whole lot of major improvements there. But I can definitely get that information for you.
All right, thank you. With no other questions, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our presentations. And now we will scoot back to item number 1. Comments from the public, and these comments should be about something that is not on the agenda. If it's on the agenda, you need to wait until that item comes up, and otherwise we will open public comment. And I would just ask maybe if you could form some kind of a queue so that we can move through this fairly smoothly.
Mayor Gurney,
Yes.
can you remind people that, last time we had public comment, people were like, how come you're not saying anything? That we're not allowed to respond.
Right. If
on
it's not an agenda
on the
item,
agenda, right.
agenda item, we can't respond to public comment, and but we certainly can receive it and take it into consideration. Take it away.
I guess I'm first. So a few months ago, a number of leaders of two pro-Palestinian groups here in Sonoma and I sat together with the purpose of crafting a resolution to be brought to you regarding the ongoing war between Israel and Gaza. And at the time, I was shown their resolution proposal, and I tried to whittle it down a little bit to 3 main points, clearly stating that the resolution should only call upon Hamas and Israel to A, enter into immediate ceasefire, for all innocent civilians and hostages to return to their families, and for service to be restored, along with beyond sufficient increase in humanitarian aid to Gaza. And I stressed at the time that inside the proposed resolution, any mention of blaming either side would not be beneficial. I also stressed that getting political, language such as an end to illegal occupation, or to tag into the resolution the use of American tax dollars, that would only slow the process down to bring relief to a war-stricken catastrophe in Israel and Gaza. So the group here, many of whom are here, went in another direction with the ceasefire resolution that you have before you. My main focus at the time was to promote understanding and avoid stoking further division, animosity, and conflict here in our town, and I was not listened to. So as both rabbi and president of our Sonoma Valley Interfaith, some of whom are here with us now, we mourn the tragic loss of innocent lives of Israeli and Palestinian people, and we pray for the leaderships of those countries to find their way in a peaceful solution. This is ceasefire resolution now is combative, divisive, and conflict-ridden at its core. And most importantly, it serves no purpose at this council's concerns. You may indeed be asking yourself at this time, how do we get ourselves out of this? How do we make this go away? The Jewish community of Sonoma, members of the Interfaith Council, and many members within our faith-based communities stand together and turn to you, our trusted servants of this city council, and respectfully ask that you not get worn down nor bullied. Stand strong and reject this combative, divisive, and politically motivated ceasefire resolution.
All right, thank you. Next. Anybody? Next. If we have a queue, we can avoid the lag between speakers.
I speak to you on Nakba Day. My name is Susan Lamont, and my name is inscribed, along with 32 others, on the Sebastopol Living Peace Wall. 21 of us are still living, and the vast majority of us live in Sonoma County, not just Sebastopol. 18 of us, support a ceasefire resolution. We have not been able to reach the other 3. No one has said no. During the 1930s and World War II, most of the world was silent about the genocide of Jews, LGBTQ, Roma, artists, and others. The war was not fought to save them. If Hitler hadn't invaded other countries, the world would have allowed the killing to continue. We look back with horror at those who were silent. The majority of Americans support a ceasefire, but here in Sonoma County there's been mostly silence from elected representatives. Do not be among those that future generations look back on with incredulous shame. Please pass a resolution and then ask your fellow council members around the county to do the same. Then unite with city councils and boards across the country to tell our representatives in Congress and the president that the people of Gaza, the people of Israel, and the people of all the countries wasting precious money on weapons for Israel, that we all need a ceasefire. The Nakba has never ended. Do not cause people to ask, why didn't you say something?
Next speaker.
Hello, Mayor and Council members. My name is Ken Warnick, and I want to first specifically recognize all of you who are volunteers in our community. I am also a volunteer. I've been an officer at the Sonoma Valley Museum of Art. I've been on the Ag Advisory Committee at the high school. I'm currently vice chair of the Sonoma Valley International Film Festival. I'm also a geologist, and I have a master's in business. Should you decide on a resolution, there are a few things that you probably know, and these people absolutely have to know. First of all, the Arab world occupies 1.2 million square miles of land. Israel, created on the back of a genocide, occupies 8,000 square miles. It's less than 0.5% of the land, and yet they haven't had a minute of peace. Every single member of our congregation under this rabbi, every single one of them sitting here, has relatives who were slaves in Egypt, who were expelled from Spain during the Edict of Expulsion. My entire family was murdered in the Ukraine. It's not that we are not in favor of a ceasefire. We just demand a right to exist, period. That is non-negotiable. Israel turned over Gaza after they were mercilessly attacked in multiple wars. They won the Sinai and returned the Sinai to the Egyptians. They won Gaza and returned a jewel to the Gazans. Hotels, restaurants, schools, hospitals, beaches, and the world and Israel gave the Gazans money. And what did they do? They built a terror hellhole. That's what these people are fighting for now? Forget it.
All right, thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Raham Arakat. Can't see. I just wanted to come here and introduce myself not only as a longtime Sonoma resident, but a proud Palestinian, a daughter of a Nakba survivor, and the granddaughter of Nakba survivors. Last time I attended a city council meeting here in Sonoma, a gentleman during public comment made a statement that the city should not take part in putting a ceasefire resolution on the agenda because it doesn't affect our city and our day-to-day issues. I beg to differ. Every single taxpayer here is affected because it's our money, our tax dollars that are funding the weapons that are causing the genocide. Every single person here should be affected. The last 8 months have almost 8 months have been an absolute nightmare, not only as a Palestinian, but as a human being. Just when I think I had seen the most horrible atrocity I've ever witnessed, another dawn happens, and with it comes something even worse. I've seen more dead children than I care to see for the rest of my life. The numbers speak for themselves. 222 days into this genocide, and on the 76th anniversary of the Nakba, we are at over 40,000 Palestinians dead, killed. 72% of that number are women and children, and of that percentage, over 15,000 are children. This is not just a Palestinian issue. This is a human rights issue. This is why every single person here should care. Enough is enough. We need and we demand a ceasefire now. Thank you.
What'd you say, man?
All right, excuse me, you need, sir, you need to address the council, and I'm going to just advise the audience, we'll have no back and forth. You're here for public comment to the city council. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Alex Garcia, ALEXGARCIA. I'd like to urge the city council to consider a ceasefire resolution and why that's important at this moment. Just last night, the students at Sonoma State University successfully used their constitutional rights to protest, to assemble, and free speech to have their divestment demands met. A truly historic achievement considering the opposition. Our students are our leaders of tomorrow, and right now this city council is lagging behind students at our university. Their hearts and minds are set on divestment, and the students are finding striking similarities between Zionism and past colonial endeavors, recognizing patterns of racial discrimination, apartheid, violence. By addressing the need for a ceasefire resolution, you can prove that the United States is not a dying colonial empire that sold its people out to capitalism. You can prove that public discourse by constituents is not irrelevant because capitalism doesn't recognize our humanity. And you can prove that citizens are not just commodities to be bought and sold. In closing, I'd like to add that students have been organizing, educating each other, and rallying worldwide support for their movement. They are the future. The skills they are learning will allow them to be true leaders, and one day they will be sitting in these council seats. Also, I'd like to mention why U.S. politicians don't talk about the fact that Israel has nuclear weapons that could potentially cause a nuclear war and kill everybody in the entire planet. So I hope to see change coming soon, and I don't want to see mushroom clouds instead of that. So thank you.
Hi, thank you. My name is Alan Wolves, and I'm coming to you today as an anti-Zionist Jew to give you a different voice than some of the other Jewish voices you've heard from the community who are arguing against the ceasefire resolution. We're definitely not united on this. And just to reply to something that one of the previous commenters said, we just want a right to exist. We as Jews had the right to exist in many, many places before the creation of the State of Israel. And when the idea of Zionism was first proposed, most denominations of Judaism were against the idea. People have been against, Jews have been against Zionism all throughout Jewish history, like Maimonides, when he told the Yemeni Jews who wanted to return back to Israel, "Now, brethren and friends, abide by the oath, and stir up love not until it please." What he meant by that was that we should not move to the Holy Land as a group until the Messiah comes. Other anti-Zionist Jews are Albert Einstein, who said, "I should much rather see reasonable agreement with the Arabs on the basis of living together in peace than the creation of a Jewish state." And so I'm here to say, please pass a ceasefire resolution. In response to the comment that Gaza was turned over to the Palestinians, that is not true. Israel withdrew the settlements from Gaza, but there was still an economic blockade on it, and they were not allowed to live their lives as anyone else should be able to. I'll leave you with one more quick quote. Two groups conflate Zionism and Judaism. Zionists who want to legitimize Zionism by pretending it is Judaism, and anti-Semites who want to delegitimize Judaism by pretending it is Zionism. Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro.
Tanya Marsh, here again, T-A-N-Y-A-M-A-R-S-H. Why this is absolutely a local issue and why this is political, even though Sonoma is not a political city. $191,000 in our tax revenue is spent on an illegal apartheid occupation of white supremacists who've hijacked the Jewish faith for land and resource grab, and we can't get health care or affordable housing here. We've asked you numerous times to hear us. There have been voices from Palestine asking you to hear them. We're asking you to find your humanity and stand for a ceasefire, as so many other cities, universities, businesses, and countries have done, as they continue divesting from the apartheid genocidal regime that at this moment is brutally tearing to shreds innocent children and their parents. This has nothing to do with Hamas, or Israel would have accepted the last hostage deal. It's about the ethnic cleansing of Palestinian people, as it has been for 76 years now as of today. And you not seeing that shows a lack of humanity, compassion, empathy, and ability to lead a people to a place of collective liberation. If you won't stand up for your local students, we can't really expect you to stand up for Palestinians. And any of you running again have lost my vote, my confidence, and my respect. And just to remind you, a ceasefire supports the environment. We're talking about how biking supports the environment. A ceasefire supports our environment. A ceasefire supports humanity. A ceasefire will bring home the hostages. Please support a ceasefire resolution.
Good evening. My name is Jen Miller, and I am a Jewish resident of Sonoma County, and I'm here to urge you to please adopt a ceasefire resolution in the name of peace and safety for all people, for Palestinians, for Jewish people, for Israeli people. As people mentioned, over 14,000 children have been murdered. In light of that fact, a ceasefire resolution is honestly the least we can do. It is a very small step towards opening a conversation towards peace, towards change, and true safety for everybody in the region. As a Jewish person, I understand the need for Jewish safety on a very cellular level. However, I really feel that Jewish safety cannot be at the expense of the murder of and displacement of an entire people. How can that make us safe? Bombing hospitals, schools, children, family, aid workers, blocking aid, starvation. Babies cannot get care. People are killed as they're waiting in line for flour. This is not making us safer. This resolution really matters because this is really a local issue. There are Palestinian members of our community, there are Jewish members of our community, many, many others who do not want our tax dollars being used to fund this genocide. And that's why it really matters. Jewish voices for a ceasefire have spoken en masse in the city, in our county, nationally, including rabbis for a ceasefire. The diversity of Jewish voice is very broad. And I invite you to speak to us more if you want to find out more. We are not willing to be complicit in these crimes. And I really feel if you take a stance locally, it has a ripple effect. So thank you so much. Please pass a ceasefire.
Hello, Council. My name is Katie Jewell. I'm a junior at Sonoma Valley High School, and on behalf of several others, I am here to urge Sonoma to call for a ceasefire. 221 days ago, the October 7th attack started this wave of the genocide against Palestinians. Over 35,000 Palestinians have been murdered, a multitude of which being women and children. Sonoma is a town of privilege. We cannot continue to stand and flaunt it in the faces of the grieving and suffering. Sonoma must pass the ceasefire resolution. Thank you for your time.
Seth Donnelly, Sonoma resident. I just wanted to recognize that I was part of the conversations along with some of the student activists and other community activists with Rabbi Steve in crafting the ceasefire. In all respect, my recollection of what transpired is different. I don't think that the demands were changed on the ceasefire. There is a reference to the term occupied territories and that the occupation is illegal, which is the international United Nations standard.
Please address the council. No.
That is the international United Nations standard, that the occupied territories, that is an illegal occupation. We did not think in good faith that would create a division. Moreover, we last reached out, and the response of Rabbi Steve at the time was they were going to pull back to deal, given the friction with Iran that had occurred. But it was not, we were still wanting to continue the process. Bottom line is that the demands of the ceasefire resolution before you are very basic. And of course they need to talk about our tax dollars, because that's the whole point of a city council and grassroots democracy putting pressure on the federal officials to stop misusing our tax dollars to support an ongoing genocide. All resolutions of any substance will be controversial, whether it was the one against apartheid, South African apartheid that Sonoma took a stand on, the Vietnam War. It's time to have courage and act and understand that many, many voices, Jewish, Palestinian, progressive, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, are all united in calling for an end to this conflict, which means calling for an end to U.S. weaponization of the Israeli military. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lexi Bakar, and I'm here to urge the City Council to pass a ceasefire resolution. Congratulations to everybody that received awards tonight. I just want to remind you that there are no schools, there are no bike lanes, and there are no libraries left in Gaza. Every day I wake up hoping it's all been a bad dream, that I didn't fall asleep watching babies being put into body bags, and grown men who remind me of my father and my uncles weeping in the streets. As Israeli troops move into Rafah, think about the approximately 600,000 children sheltering there, many of whom are orphans, some born to deceased mothers. They are in immediate danger from bombings and are in desperate need of food, water, medical supplies, and other essentials. But Israel has closed the Rafah crossing. Aid is sitting at the border, going bad. Far-right Israeli protesters are sabotaging aid trucks. This type of control is not new for the people of Gaza, who have been living under Israeli blockade since 2005, meaning Israel controls the flow of entry of people, goods, food, fuel, and other supplies, and restricting entry into Jerusalem where many important resources like banks and specialized hospitals are. The blockade has had a detrimental effect on the economy and quality of life of the people of Gaza. Regardless of your decision, whether to stand on the right side of history or to turn a blind eye to injustice, remember that this movement is only gaining momentum. The world is waking up to the atrocities that Palestinians have endured for over 76 years. When it's time to vote, we won't tolerate politicians who ignore the majority of their constituents pleading for peace. Your inaction in Sonoma reveals your true priorities. We'll see you at local events knowing you've supported the unlawful murder of over 35,000 people and prioritize military spending over your own community's needs. I want to extend a thank you to members Jack and Patricia for their responsive actions and demonstrating their commitments to their communities and social justice. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, City Council members, my name is Peter Stanford. I'm a resident of Sonoma. I want to help clarify what happened at Sonoma State yesterday. This is a message that Mike Lee, president of Sonoma State University, sent out today. And I quote, "As president, my focus is on how best to serve our students and our campus community. My goal in meeting with students at the encampment was to explore opportunities to make meaningful change, identify common ground, and create a safe and inclusive campus for all. I now realize that many of the statements I made in my campus-wide message did just the opposite. In my attempt to find agreement with one group of students, I marginalized other members of our student population and community. I realize the harm that this has caused and take full ownership of it. I deeply regret the unintended consequences of my actions. I want to be clear. The message was drafted and sent without the approval of or consultation with the chancellor or other system leaders. The points outlined in the message were mine alone and do not represent the views of my colleagues or Sonoma State University, CSU. In my message, I stated we understand that many people feel anxious and fearful, particularly when standing for what they believe. We ask that everyone do their part to support one another to ensure that Sonoma State is a safe and inclusive place for all. As I step away on leave, he is leaving now, I will reflect on the harm this has caused and will be working with the Chancellor's office to determine next steps." So he's retracted much of what he said and will likely not return to Sonoma State. And I would also like to say personally that I hope you don't acquiesce to many of the Nazis who are masquerading as Palestinian supporters. Thank you.
Let me make it clear, we're not going to tolerate any outbursts. This is public comment. Public comment. Ma'am, please.
My name's Sabina Cesar, resident of Sonoma, and it's been only a short period since we've been here last time. And during that short period of time, another 2,000 civilians have perished in Gaza. For the 8th time, residents of Rafah have been asked to evacuate to places that don't exist. There is no safe place for anybody to go to. And so here is my sign. Silence is the voice of complicity, which applies to many occasions, I think. Cities like Windsor, Healdsburg, Novato, and Petaluma have passed resolutions. And silence has been deafening here in Sonoma. So many people ask, what's the end game for this war in Gaza? Nobody seems to know, but I got a brief view of what could be by watching a documentary that was shown on Democracy Now! It's a station that's a PBS station. And it showed a real estate developer with surrounded by many eager buyers, mapping out seaside parcels along the Gaza beachfront that were potentially in the future going to be up for sale. So that should give us an idea of where things might be headed. I'm asking the council, has anything, my time is almost up, has anything been acted on our last request? Any discussion? Any conclusions?
We can only take public comment. We can't engage in question and answer.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Hello, I'm Julie Mendez. I'm a constituent of Sonoma. I have written on the back of my sign here a list of organizations and one person who support a ceasefire, and not only support a ceasefire, but hold both Hamas, but especially the IDF and the Israeli government accountable for the war and genocide in Gaza. B'Tselem, a Israeli human rights group. Doctors Without Borders, who have had staff attacked in Gaza right now. Amnesty International, another human rights group. Human Rights Watch, another human rights group. And Marion Ingram, a Holocaust survivor. She's not the only Holocaust survivor who has done so, but she's the only one I could fit on this sign. You can look her up. She had an interview with Democracy Now! Where she compared her experience in Auschwitz to the experience of the children right now in Gaza. I'm not making this up. I'm not misquoting. She said she compared the starvation and the oppression to hers. That's her name, Marion Ingram. And don't worry, this will be short. Here I have a book. Here I have a book by Naim Stefan Atik, a survivor of the Nakba, which many people have mentioned. He says in his dedication, this book is dedicated to Jews, Muslims, Christians, and all people of goodwill who believe in the power of nonviolence and possess the courage to stand and act for justice and peace for all people of the land, especially for the liberation of Palestinian people. I'll read a small excerpt. So he's a survivor of the Nakba, as I mentioned, who was about 10 years old when it happened. He writes...
I apologize. Your time is up.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mandy Bowling. I am a Snowman. I am a Jew, and I am desperate for a ceasefire. And I'm not here to villainize anyone or to bully anyone. Clearly, we need to have a conversation. And I am urging you to put this on the agenda. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Casper. That was my beautiful mother. And I would just like to give a little statement about Jewish people. The Jewish people are a loving people. We have a history plagued by trauma after trauma. But like any historically marginalized community on earth, we do our best every day to smile through the generational wounds of expulsion and genocides. I often hear older Jewish people tell their kids never forget, to remind them of what their ancestors suffered through to allow them to live freely. I see a community that is fiercely protective of human life because they know how easily it can be lost. So why, then, are Jewish people, those who share my history, why are they advocating for genocide in my name? Why am I being spoken for by those who pretend to care about me only to silence me reassuringly and use me as a pawn? I have seen the generational effects of the Holocaust in my family, and I have seen the generational effects of the Palestinian Nakba on the faces of people that I care about, and it pains me so deeply that I'm witnessing Jewish people justifying the same suffering they live with every single day on another ethnic group. These people do not speak for the Jews as they claim. They do not speak for the overwhelmingly anti-Zionist Jews of the younger generation. They do not speak for me. They speak for a genocide that inflicts on Palestinian children the same pain they tell their own children to never forget. I would not be alive in this country had my great-grandparents not fled the Holocaust. And I will not sit here and allow these people to co-opt my existence to commit atrocities that we all know deeply. Shame on those who refuse to see us, and for the millions of anti-Zionist Jews who denounce genocide, I tell you, not in my name.
You left your son. Mandy? Next speaker.
Hello, Sonoma City Council. My name is Celine, as you know. I'm here to respond to a refutation to our ceasefire resolution, wherein it is argued that Palestinian civilians should be collectively punished for Hamas's holding of Israeli hostages because there were no hostages before October 7th. This claim is willfully ignorant of Israel's detention policies, which are well recorded by both Israeli and international human rights organizations. Today, more than 7,000 Palestinians are held in Israeli detention centers, including women and children. The majority have not been convicted of a crime, according to the Israeli human rights organization Hamoked. Of these 7,000 imprisoned Palestinians, 2,000 are being held in administrative detention, in which the Israeli military detains a person without charge or trial. This detention is renewable indefinitely based on secret information which the detainee is not allowed to see, according to the same organization, Hamoked. Since 2001, more than 1,400 complaints of torture, including painful shackling, sleep deprivation, and exposure to extreme temperatures, have been filed with Israel's Justice Ministry, according to the human rights organization Stop Torture. Similar to apartheid South Africa, Israelis are guaranteed their human right to a fair trial and due process, while Palestinians are ruled under punitive, unjust military law. In December, 3 Israeli hostages were shot and killed, assumed to be Palestinians, by IDF soldiers, according to Reuters. It has been 221 days since Israel's siege began. Over 35,000 Palestinians have been murdered, 2.3 million were forced to leave their homes, and Israel's invading Rafah, the most densely populated city on earth, where an estimated 600,000 children are living. Our tax dollars are supplying Israel with military weapons against the will of widespread public opinion. Sonoma has stood on the right side of Vietnam and apartheid. Let us stand with humanity today. Please pass the ceasefire resolution, which calls for the prompt release of all hostages. Thank you.
Hello, I'm a resident of Sonoma Valley. I'm here today, like many of my peers, to implore the Sonoma Valley City Council to pass a ceasefire resolution. According to Reuters, as of yesterday, more than 35,000 Palestinians, most of which whom are children and women, have been killed, and more than 2.3 million people have been forcibly driven out of their homeland as a result of this ongoing genocide. You all, Sonoma City Council members, have the ability to pass a ceasefire and stand alongside majority of U.S. citizens who, statistically speaking, support calling for a ceasefire. You all are very familiar faces to me, as I've probably seen in other places. Just kind of reiterating some of this points that I made last time I was here. I'm incredibly involved in Sonoma Valley, specifically with the Hispanic people, as a first-generation Mexican-American myself. And while I cannot speak for everyone, I can 1,000% say that there is a very overwhelming support for a ceasefire in the spaces that I'm in, nonprofits that I have worked for and am a part of, clubs, events, etc. And to the Sonoma City Council, your constituents of Sonoma Valley implore you to join the Sonoma Human Rights Commission, cities of Cotati, Richmond, Albany, Oakland, San Francisco, Chicago, and others, as well as the Santa Rosa School Board. So we would not be the only small whatever in Sonoma County to be pushing for a ceasefire, and majority of the citizens of Sonoma in calling for a ceasefire. Thank you.
Next speaker.
My name is Ava Bolger, and I'm a resident of Sonoma. Today, May 15th, marks 76 years since Nakba. I want to remind you all that this issue is systemic and more than just a retaliation to an act of terrorism. It's oppression. And it's been going on for 76 years. Israel has been taking land and life from Palestinians throughout this time period, but especially now are taking advantage of a vastly increased ability to destroy Palestine through the guise of justified retaliation. It's blatantly clear at this point that this attack is so far from justified. We need to stop this. You lose constituent support from your inaction, so at the very least your declining popularity should motivate you towards change. I'm once again calling for a lasting ceasefire in Gaza. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Kanita Hun. That is KNNITHAHUN. I'm a senior at SVHS, and I fully support the demand for a ceasefire. It is not political, a crime, or anti-Semitic to say that murder is wrong. I know it must be hard to imagine, but for a moment, put yourself in the positions of Palestinians who live in constant fear. Imagine if that was your child, your spouse, your family and friends fearing for their lives, struggling for food, water, and other necessities. Time and time again, we voice out our concerns, and time and time again, we are shut down, ignored, or told that our requests are too radical. Addressing us as kids shows that there is no respect for us. We are taught from an early age that respect is earned, not given. But what have you done to earn our respect? If we sit back and allow this violence to continue, what kind of a message does that send to our youth, to our future, and our Palestinian citizens? You saw us here last time showing our support for a ceasefire, and we are here yet again. How many times will we have to keep coming back in order to be heard, to be taken seriously? You can try to continue to silence us, but we are the future. It would be wise to listen to us. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Richie Cross. I'm a senior at Sonoma Valley High School. I believe that in any conflict or humanitarian disaster such as the one taking place today and for decades now in Palestine, it is simply the duty of the people with the privilege of a voice to not stay silent, but to stand up and speak for those who do not have a voice. Those who are watching their babies, their mothers, their fathers, their friends helplessly killed in front of their eyes, fearing for their lives and the future of their existence. And finally, I just want to thank all the brave and courageous people who spoke before me and may speak after me in constant effort of action and a ceasefire resolution for the better of humankind. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Ariel Mihik. I am a resident here in the unceded territory of the Coast Miwok. Today is day 222. It's also May 15th, Nakba Day. Today marks the start of the 76th year of the ongoing Nakba, or catastrophe, as it's translated from Arabic, in remembrance of the colonization of 78% of Palestinian homeland and the mass ethnic cleansing of 80% of the Palestinian people in 1948. The Nakba continues. Nearly 600,000 Palestinians have been displaced from Rafah just since May 6, when Israel began its latest invasion of Gaza. We are witnessing an ongoing Nakba, an ongoing ethnic cleansing, a mass genocide, fueled by settler colonial project that is Zionism and paid for with American tax dollars and complicity.
Sirens sounded for 76 seconds across the West Bank today to commemorate 76 years of the ongoing Nakba. I invite us to do the same now, 1 second for every year of Palestinian displacement. Pass the ceasefire resolution.
Good evening, Mayor Gurney, members of the council, Tom Conlon, live outside the city limits. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed to hear this process continuing on the way it has now before you. I don't know, I've lost track. Is it 5 times? Has this been before you 5 times as a public comment? Has it been more? I'm disappointed. I don't know where you stand on this. I think that the people of the city of Sonoma have brought before you a matter that we are shaking when we speak to you. There is passion in people's voices. I'm disappointed in the members of the ecumenical community who came here tonight and supported a statement which, in my view, and I say my great-grandfather was a German Jew, married an Irish Catholic, grew up here in California, where we didn't have that baggage that the Middle East has. And yet we see the whole world slipping into ethno-nationalism, and here we are not speaking out against it. We are quiet. We are complicit if we are quiet. So I'm frustrated. I don't know what to do. I listen to these young people, and I listen to the debate within the Jewish community, which is very, very vocal, and I see what it's doing to our society, and it's bothering me deeply. So I beseech you to put this on the agenda. And Mayor Gurney, I recognize you may not want to do that, but I ask the other members of the council, please, let's do that. And it's time. Thank you for your consideration.
Next speaker.
My name is Tony Rollins. I'm a member of Congregation Shir Shalom. When let me back up. There's a saying, Maimonides saying, that has stood with me most of my life. When I'm confused, and my leaders confuse me with divided counsel, go out in the street and see what the people are doing. And that's why I'm here tonight. What are the people doing? And I've seen these two sides, and I've seen the extreme emotion on both sides, and that's fine, okay? I think that you are faced with a decision, and it's a complex decision. And in complex decision-making, try to focus on a simple objective. There is nobody, I believe, in this building who does not want a ceasefire. That's the objective.
Hi, my name is Jean Louise Camus. Thank you for having us. I'm a citizen and a taxpayer here in Sonoma. And I ask you to kindly, please, read the ceasefire and understand that this is the money that we're sending. And we have the power, just like a consumer has the power to show where they want their money spent. I don't think we want our money spent on this war, and I don't think our city money should be going towards this war. And if you read that ceasefire document, all the paragraphs are super important, but I especially appreciate the bottom paragraph that explains the steps that this process goes through. It goes to our county, our state legislators, all the way up to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. And this is an important message for our city to stand for, that we do not stand for this war, and we do not stand for sending our money to these bombs. I left my kids at home. I fed them dinner. I kissed them goodbye. And a lot of people don't get to have that. And I don't think we should be part of that process. So I really ask you guys to please consider putting this agenda item on your agenda and debating this. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Alice King. I've been in Sonoma Valley for 25 years, just 2 blocks outside the boundaries of this political zone. But I just could not stay silent. I have raised 2 beautiful daughters who attended the public schools from Flowery, Adele, up to Sonoma Valley High School, including Celine, who is one of our activists who have become very passionate about this issue. I want to, profess that I have absolutely no personal bias or ties to either the Palestinian or the Israeli people, ethnically, religiously, or otherwise. But it is just appalling to see this humanitarian crisis unfold. And to me, I do agree with the people that say it's actually simple. Just to have a ceasefire, nothing else can be solved until we get to at least that baby step. I also want to say on the issue of should a locality be involved in what seems to be really a nation-to-nation issue. Well, I was Sister Cities president about 20 years ago, and we have several sister cities. We're not diplomats. We're not going to be negotiating any treaties with a foreign country, but it's important to have friendship with other people that are different than you, the symbolic value of those kinds of relationships. To me, this is along the same lines. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Inika Wood. I'm a student. I've lived in Sonoma my entire life. I just simply want to say that I would like you all to consider and pass a ceasefire resolution. It's the least that we can do to creating a better future. Please consider it.
Hello, my name is Petal Conlin, and I live 10 minutes away from the plaza. I can bike and car here in 10 minutes. I work on the plaza. I work on Broadway. I grew up here. I'm a Sonoman. I'm a queer Sonoman. I'm LGBT. I'm actually all of those letters. And I just wanted you all to know that I was at the last city council meeting and we talked about rainbow something, crosswalks. And I want you to know that as a queer person, my safety is bound up with your safety. And Palestinian safety is bound up with my safety. And we cannot have a safe environment. We cannot have rainbows if we don't actually follow that safety and follow that care for each other. And so I want you to know, as much as I want, to have like queer pride, I cannot have pride during a genocide. It is incompatible. And so for our city to be making certain advances for like certain identity groups, I just want to go back to what's actually important, which is the humanity, this humanitarian crisis, and the safety that we all should enjoy. And that I am here and able to be proud as a transsexual, as a transgender person, as a queer person. My rights were fought violently in the streets. The only reason I'm able to be here today is because of that. And I shake here because I wonder what people like you would have done during those times. Would I have to be fighting for my literal safety in the streets before you guys? Do I have to do that again for Palestinians right now? I implore you to think about our safety as combined, as impacting everyone, every single person, Jewish, Palestinian, Muslim, queer, all of it. We are all bound up together, and a ceasefire is the least thing that we can do right now. It is far gone for 40,000 people who have already been massacred. And so, thank you very much.
All right, hello, Sonoma City Council. I'm a permanent Sonoma resident of 12 years, and my family has been here for 40 years. We have Jewish roots in Nazi Germany and survival of that war. I speak on behalf of myself and my family. The scale of death and destruction during the course of this war goes beyond sides. It is not necessarily pro or anti-Palestinian or pro or anti-Israel. It is not pro or anti-Semitic or pro or necessarily anti-Zionist or pro or anti, what am I writing here? Pro or anti-Hamas. It's also it's about speaking out when something is deeply wrong, because this is a democracy and you are gratefully our representatives. There are people across all racial, religious, economic backgrounds, across all international countries and political backgrounds who are speaking out against this war and the human rights injustices being committed against the majority of innocent civilians in Palestine. Death, injury, displacement, starvation, trauma. The majority of tax-paying Americans want this war to end. This has gone too far. Please allow Sonoma to call on a symbolic ceasefire, because we as American taxpayers and as Sonomans value human rights and democracy. Please take a step towards safety for all people. Thank you.
My name is Maria Barakat. I'm a Sonoman. I'm Lebanese and Palestinian. I am exhausted. Since I started working for humanitarian ceasefire on this issue, I've heard a lot of ahistoric misinformation from people I've spoken with who oppose a humanitarian ceasefire. Some of the misinformation was told to me recently by a seemingly normal person who said that there was just no Palestinians in Palestine, whenever Israelis, Zionists came and occupied that space. People really do actually believe that. They believe nobody was there. And yet, there were over $200 billion worth of current U.S. Dollars value of economic thriving happening in the state of Palestine. Today is the 76th anniversary of the Nakba. The Nakba is what Palestinians call the Great Catastrophe. It was the systematic, according to the UN and every other human rights body, the systematic massacring and expulsion of Palestinians from their home and lands between 1947 and 1949. Israeli militia, this is fact, they conducted over 50 unique massacres. One of the most notorious is Deir Yassin massacre. Over 100 people were murdered, mostly by the Irgun, a Zionist militia group who burned one man alive tied to a tree, shot civilians in the backs at point blank, raped women, and executed dozens of children. These are in Israeli and Jewish historical documents and books. It's a matter of record that the Deir Yassin massacre was intended to be so violent that it intimidated other Palestinians to flee, and it did. When Palestinians heard of this massacre, they fled by the nearly 1 million. Jewish and Israeli historians have confirmed these accounts. People wrote it down. During the Nakba, my own Aunt Renee, I've told you this before, but she was expelled on foot from one of 400 cities and towns in Palestine. Her family survived, and they lived for years in a UN tent in Lebanon. It's calculated that the economy was worth almost $200 billion. Nobody was not there. People were there, living a life.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jordan. I grew up in Sonoma. It's interesting that my boss was here tonight for Sonoma County Library. And I have to tell you that I went to a fundraiser back in February for the Middle Eastern Children's Alliance. I want to back up and posit that I'm Jewish, probably Jewish, but I went to a fundraiser for Mecca, which is a Middle Eastern Children's Alliance, and there I learned about Doa al-Masri, who was a middle 20-year-old librarian in Gaza, and she was murdered along with her family in December. And when I was talking, she was a member of Mecca, and when I was talking to the organizer who was telling me about that, I just couldn't stop crying because I thought about myself and my family being buried under rubble, and all the children that I work with every day in the library, and how there's no more libraries left in Gaza. There's no more books. There's no more universities. There's no more schools. How do you rebuild a society after that? I have been in the struggle since October, fighting for Palestinian liberation, because I know that, first of all, Arabs were not the people that have been historically anti-Semitic towards Jews. In fact, they have been historically very important to Jewish safety. And this is not about Judaism. This is about settler colonialism, and I need to tell you that I have been in bodies all around this county fighting for our voices to be heard, and our local representatives won't listen to us. Our state representatives tell us it's the federal representatives that need to do this. The federal representatives say it's the Republicans, so they can't do anything. Who is going to do something about this? We have young people here, and they're going to see that these bodies are ineffective, and that even though we have an overwhelming majority in favor of a ceasefire, that America is overwhelmingly in favor of a ceasefire, and yet our representatives won't do anything. You guys are delegitimizing your authority as bodies of power for all these young people.
And I'm sorry, your time is up.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Richard Price. I'm a resident of Sonoma. I just wanted to echo something my rabbi said and make it absolutely clear. Where the rabbi's coming and from most of the Jewish community is coming is one where we seek peace, not just in the world, but in our own community. And the rabbi and the community absolutely agrees that a ceasefire should be adopted right away, that there should be a release of hostages, that humanitarian aid be allowed through, that services be restored to Gaza to end the suffering of both Palestinians and Israelis. And what I decry is, what we're coming from is seeking peace and harmony within our community. And the kind of inflamed rhetoric that you hear tonight is creating greater division. Nobody's going to leave this community, this meeting tonight, feeling any better. The amount of disinformation about what's going on that was put forward to you tonight is staggering. And I don't want to sit here, and I urge the rabbi not to point fingers, because the point is, unless we stop pointing fingers and unless we say what we seek is common ground and peace, we're not going to get anywhere. So if you want to pass a ceasefire resolution, it should be one that doesn't point fingers at one side or the other, as most of the speakers have tonight, and rather just calls upon both sides to lay their weapons down and seek a peaceful solution to their problems. Thank you.
Are there any other speakers?
Good evening, City Council. My name is Fred Allebach. This is a very tough situation for City Council to be in, and I wrote an editorial to the IT where I said some of the same things that Rabbi Steve said. And I went to Shir Shalom, and I stood with them after there was some various anti-Jewish violence threatened there, and I had a very nice service at Shir Shalom. And I stand with everybody, and I stand with peace, and I think you've heard enough messages here tonight to thread the needle with a ceasefire that you would craft with a message here, and that in order for you to do that, someone has got to speak in the City Council comments section of the meeting and say that they would like to put that on the agenda, and then you could vote on it. And I think there is enough material here where that you could do that, and people would back it. And not everyone's going to be happy. I went to the Lava Beds National Park where the Modoc War was, And there was a series of tremendously savage tit-for-tat violence. So after 20 years, there was no entering into that without just being dragged down into it. To be for peace, you got to stop that somehow, and we can certainly stop that here with a simple resolution for a ceasefire, humanitarian aid, and that's not asking too much. You can craft the resolution. And you can take the messages that a lot of people had tonight that I thought were really good messages and put that into a resolution that most people would back. That's my comment. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nico Karmer. I support a ceasefire resolution. It's obvious that pretty much everybody here does too, and if you're unfazed by people yelling at you to, stop killing people, I think you all need a psychiatric evaluation, maybe some therapy, it's not normal.
Are there any other speakers? Queue up, please.
Hello, my name is Maximilian Campos. I'm a senior at the Sonoma Valley High School, and I'm also here to demand that you guys pass the ceasefire resolution, because it is unacceptable that you guys are stifling our voices, our local community's voices in this issue. We need representation. We need you to speak for us, as that's your entire job. And I think it's probably important to remember that we vote for you guys, and ignoring us is probably not the best idea. I haven't heard of this strategy before, but I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah. Good luck. You will definitely be scrutinized heavily for this. Yeah. Good luck.
Hello, my name is Zach. I live here, of course. I'm a resident in Sonoma, and every day we get to enjoy many luxuries here. Great food, water, our homes, our beds. After a long day of hard work, we get to go home and enjoy all that. You know what the people in Palestine don't get to experience? Any of those luxuries, none of them. Is there no guilt in staying quiet while they get none of that and we get all of that? The least we could do is at least talk, or at least put an agenda, put a ceasefire on the agenda, but we are doing none of that. Is another 2 weeks going to pass? And how many more people going to talk and ask, demand for a ceasefire before that is at least considered on the agenda? Is that what's going to happen? Is there no guilt, sadness in that? Thank you.
Any other speakers? All right, I'm going to close public comment, and we'll move on with the remaining agenda. Not yet. All right. Let's move to item number 3, council members' reports and comments. Are there any reports?
I don't have any report, but I want to take this opportunity directly appoint Mr. Jeff Roche as the commissioner of the PROS.
This is your appointment, right? You don't. Yes. Okay. All right. Yes. All right. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
So I attended the Sonoma Clean Power Association meeting on May 2nd. I also that evening attended their 10-year anniversary celebration of 10 years of clean power in Sonoma moving towards electrification. And so just a very, very few things. I reminded people of this last time I talked about the meeting, but reminded again that it is important for people, and would be great. It's good for the people, it's good for the grid to sign up for Grid Savvy on Sonoma Clean Power, which sends you messages so that you can reduce your energy use at times when there's really high levels of electricity being used. And they're trying to move from, currently they have 9,000 people that are signed up to Grid Savvy, and they want to move to 13,000. One of the things that we're trying to do with that too is to be able to get a city by city accounting so we can see how we're doing in each city to meet those goals. And of the people that are on Grid Savvy, 30% are income qualified. The other thing is that Sonoma Clean Power, they have changed their center that they had in Sonoma, in Santa Rosa, where you could go and see all of the different types of ways to electrify your home. That center is now called the Sonoma Clean Power Customer Center, because people kind of thought it looked like, you know, an Apple store or something. That it was, you know, just, you know, like a really expensive place to go into. And so they're really changing the whole look and feel and really putting out that this is a place for the community to come and ask questions, that even if they have questions about their bill, whatever kind of questions they have. And then the only other thing I did want to talk on the legislative slide, I'll mention one legislative update that is being put forward by Senator Dodd, our state senator, which is called the Wildfire Mitigation Planning Act, that would look at all of the different agencies that are actually doing work around wildfire mitigation to set up an overall plan and have them coordinate with each other to really look at what are the efforts, you know, what are the areas where we need to focus the most, and what is everybody doing so that there can be really an effective and efficient coordinated effort. And then other than that, I was there for, along with our lovely mayor here, for opening night of the Tuesday Farmers Market.
All right. So was I. Interesting. I'm sorry, did you have anything?
Yeah, just
Okay.
Sonoma County Transportation Authority was Monday. Regional Climate Protection Authority, I'll just point out, it was mainly budget items. Mr. Conlon called in to remind us all that we need more of that budget directed to the valley, of which I wholeheartedly agree and have been fighting for that on that committee. We also took a position of oppose unless amended of a bill that would make Sonoma County a donor county to perhaps fund many of the transportation issues in many of the other counties in the Bay Area. And while we all regret the fact that BART and so forth are facing fiscal cliffs, we have a lot of need within Sonoma County, and we're trying to approach the authors, asking them to give us much more money back on the return of our investment, and also to include SMART as part of the funding priorities. Otherwise, we will continue to oppose that legislation.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Wellander.
Yes, I had 3 outings. The first one that was most enjoyable was on Monday evening. I attended the State of the District, which was the review of our local school district, and the superintendent with several others spoke as to what was accomplished, and I just sat back and smiled because I think we are our school district is getting stronger, and certainly by the lead of the superintendent. I'm very pleased with that. I also attended the Water Advisory Committee, and I can report, as I did last time, that although our reservoirs are full, we have great water supply, we still need to conserve. And lastly, I also had a chance to attend a North Bay Watershed Association, and again, I am amazed at the number of organizations around the Bay Area that continue to seek to protect our water resources, including our bay. And that's it.
All right, thank you. And on May 9th, I attended a Council Mayors Association countywide Board of Directors meeting, which consists of the mayors of the respective cities. And they are drafting a letter to the county in light of Mr. Kiff's departure. The cities are concerned that whoever replaces him may not be as collaborative and supportive of the cities as Mr. Kiff was. It's a very neutral letter, other than these are the qualities that we're hoping the new director will have: collaborative, inclusive, integrity, agile, courageous leadership. I should point out that recruitment has been open for some time now and actually closes on the 17th, if I recall correctly. So it's well underway, and in the talking points that they've crafted around this letter, one of them speaks to $25 million that are apparently log jammed at the county, and you're shaking your head yes, suggesting you know about that. So I guess I would like to just get a sense from the council, are you comfortable with, being represented in such a letter?
I definitely would. I have concerns about the replacement of David Kiff, as I sat on the COC board and saw how he facilitated. It's unclear to me as far as how that is going to be filled. And I know that historically there's been some issues regarding funding and the timeliness of payment. So again, I'm reminded of how complex this whole unsheltered issue is, and I certainly think that we can voice our concerns.
Okay, and like I said, it's a fairly, low-level letter, but they are trying to just make a point that
Sure.
that David had created a working machine,
Yes.
and they wanted to continue. So
I agree.
all right, okay. Thank you very much. That concludes my comments. So, Acting City Manager, do you have any comments? Yes, please.
All right. I will keep it brief. So I did want to just make a few announcements. So the first is the second annual Sonoma Valley Pride Celebration will be May 30th. And I'll start with speakers and the placing of the Pride flag display in front of City Hall at 5 o'clock. So you can stop by City Hall and pick up Sonoma Pride stickers while the supplies last. The second is that water customers should be keeping an eye out for postcards with information about the advanced meter infrastructure project that is currently underway. And the first water meter replacements will start in early June. Also want to support our Public Works team and Mike Berger with their week next week, but also just recognizing the improvements that have happened in the plaza, the new bike racks that are installed now, and his team cleaned out the duck pond and fountain that apparently has fish now. We have new fresh mulch and also new plantings around City Hall, and then of course the Valley of the Moon Gardening Club and Brian Rollins of Public Works and their efforts on the rose garden, and we see people out there every day taking pictures of those roses, and you can see them in City Hall because we get clippings pretty much every day now as well. Inside here in the chamber, this is the art exhibit called Celebration of the Trees, and this was our Earth Day photo contest. The winner is the epilogue of the lone tree, which is in the frame. There are a few more images to install that will be done this week, and then by next week, all the pictures will be up. June 5th, we will be having a joint Planning Commission City Council meeting. That'll be a special meeting at 5 o'clock, and that's when our consultant for the general plan will be presenting on the existing conditions, the community engagement to date, and our next steps. So the existing conditions are up and available for everybody to review. They are around 600 pages, so if you plan on reading it, you might want to get started. We also want to welcome our new finance director that she started this week, Prapti Aryal, and she is off to a great start meeting everybody. And so you can find her either in City Hall or with the finance team. She's using both spaces right now. And last but not least, we want to recognize Christina and all of her contributions to the city. Her last day is this coming Friday, and that she will be missed, and we want to wish her all the best.
All right, I think we get to hear from her shortly. Mr. City Attorney, do you have any comments?
I have no report this evening.
Thank you.
You
All
want to
right.
report one of these days.
Is there interest in taking a short break? Okay, you have 2.5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes. Somebody might throw the skunk on the table. Council comments. Items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted upon in a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the council or staff requests specific items to be removed for separate action. So,
I just have a question
Yes.
about one of the items, item 7.3.
7.3, the expenditure report.
The expenditure report, yes. And it's just kind of clarification of the numbers, if that's all right to go ahead with that. I'm sorry I wasn't able to ask questions about it before, but I was traveling with the family last several days, so been a little preoccupied.
I will try.
Okay. Oh, okay. So it's just that it shows in, when you, let me open it up so I know what I'm talking about. Oh, actually, I thought I brought it with me. No. It states in the summary that there is an 129,000 on number, says shows expenses exceeded annual budget by 129,000 on 304 parks and facilities. But when you look at the report, it says 229%. Not 129,000, by 129%. But when you look at the actual report, it says 229%. I'm a nerdy number kind of person, so I look at the numbers. And then, so if you go down to 304, and you look at the percentage of budget, it actually says 229%, and the summary says 129. That's one question. And then, this gets a little more complication. It says...
Can I suggest, I mean, this is hard to do at a meeting with numbers. I'm sorry for interrupting, but, I mean, it's a consent calendar item, and if there's a lot of questions on the numbers, I think we either need to pull it, or we need to put it on the next meeting so that you can get your questions answered.
Yeah, there's just two questions. So it's up to the,
It would make
whatever
sense
makes
to
sense.
pull it if you want to discuss it. I thought it was just a quick question.
It is
You said it's complicated, so that makes me
Oh, the
worried
next
that
one, I'm
it's gonna
sorry,
take
the
a little
next
while.
one is just, it's just like
Why,
two
why-
numbers.
Why don't we just go ahead and pull it?
Okay,
And
and
have,
then we'll
and
have a
bring it
quick
back,
number.
and we'll have the right
Okay,
people in the
good.
room.
Okay,
to
great.
present. Okay.
If that's fine, if that doesn't cause
we-
any problem with,
Do we need a motion, or?
Well, I thought you meant to pull it so that we would then we have an opportunity to discuss it after the consent agenda is voted on.
Well, acting city manager, are you comfortable in responding to the financial questions?
That specific one, I was looking to see if I could find the answer because I had questions originally too when I first reviewed it. So I'm trying to find it in my email real quick on that one, if that's the question that I had. But otherwise, the answer would be no, that I would hold off on answering any questions until the next meeting.
all right,
So I'm hearing there's interest in deferring it to the next meeting so we can discuss it with the right staff.
Yeah, and I can get the questions ahead of time so that, for the other question too, so that you have that.
When you do your motion, you would just remove 7.3 and direct staff to bring that back.
Yes.
When we get to the motion.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Wellander.
Yeah, I would like to pull 7.5 for just some discussion at the dais, please.
All right.
All right.
So,
I move acceptance of the consent calendar with the exception of 7.3 to be removed and 7.5 to be an action item.
I'll second that.
roll call.
Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas,
Yes.
Councilmember Wellander,
Yes.
Councilmember Ding. Aye. Councilmember Lowe,
Aye.
Mayor Gurney.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
All right. So, item 7.5. Mr. Wellander.
Yes. The questions I have primarily would be for our Public Works Director. I'm just kind of curious what the genesis was behind this. Have we had previously these ongoing contracts with structural engineers in the past that our project warranted? Just curious.
In the past, here at the city of Sonoma, no. And what Public Works is currently embarking on is we are in the process of doing 5 on-call RFPs, one for structural engineering services, one for tree trimming and arborist services, one for electrical engineering services, and one for electrical contractor services, and a 5th one that is escaping my mind right now.
Civil?
No, we have on-call civil engineering currently.
We currently have that. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we've been utilizing that on a consistent basis for quite a few years. And traffic engineer and city engineer are wrapped up in that.
Then, in terms of the work that the anticipated work, I noted that it had to do with either maintenance of existing facilities or possibly retrofits or what have you. Where was I headed with it? That, I guess the bottom line is, where is the 150 coming out of budget-wise?
TBD. All of these will be executed contracts with a max amount, 150,000 or another prescribed number. That is basically, if we got into a couple projects in a calendar year, it would be underneath that threshold. None of this money is budgeted or allotted. The way that these are going to work is if we had a tree project with our tree contractor that we had to get done, we would execute a contract with that contractor for the exact amount of the tree contract. That would be under the allotted amount, and it would be budgeted with the existing budget, or it would be brought to council as a change to the existing budget, the adopted budget.
So if I read it correctly, some of the potential projects could be a CIP. And then my question is, if you go that route, how do you anticipate the fee structure, the fees associated? I'm just thinking from a budgetary standpoint, because right now, if I read it correctly, we're talking about 150 a year for 3 years. And that it.
Up to 150 a
Up to
year for
150
3 years,
For
yeah.
3 years.
Yes, and the way I've used these in the past, and they work really well. We're currently doing it with our on-call concrete contractor,
Okay.
and that was how we poured the concrete in front of Mason Ave and did the bike racks in the plaza. And Public Works has determined a couple of areas where we could use this year, and one of them is at Fire Station 1. We have some dry rot at Fire Station 1 in the balcony, and that's a project that this could be utilized at. And we've determined a couple of others too. With our on-call electrical engineer, which will be in front of you shortly, we have we've determined 2 or 3 projects. Some of those are CIP, and they will be in the proposed budget. And the one that I didn't think of was our geotechnical engineering and materials testing contract, which we could really use those type of services. And some of those will fold into some of our CIPs from a design standpoint.
and others will be for materials testing on a CIP project that we have that will be folded into that CIP project budget.
And so it sounds like, and I think it makes sense, we're being a little bit more proactive so that when such needs come up, the paperwork is in line, it'll be much easier for you to facilitate and get the professional on board.
Exactly. And also, some of those needs are already there. Yeah. And we're just, we're getting ahead of ourselves and getting the proper staff lined up.
My last question has to do with, in reading the RFP that was sent out, it referred to also coordinating and answering some questions from the building department and/or, I mean, that's the way it was written up in the RFP. I'm just curious, does that happen a lot in terms of our building department needing to get outside structural input?
Available as needed. These RFPs can be canned.
Okay.
And I like to have them a little bit more opened versus structured, closed.
And much to the pleasure of my fellow councilman, I have no more questions.
Does anybody else have a question about this? Is there a motion?
So I just want to clarify, this would be an additional cost to the budget, or not? Some of it, that's what I wasn't clear in your explanation, and you're always very detailed, and sometimes I get a little lost in the details, is as to whether or not that this would alleviate other things that we might have to go out and do anyway that are CIP that are already in the budget, or if this is going to be $150,000 a year additional.
The 150,000 is a max not to exceed
Right,
number.
right.
And with the electrical engineer and the geotechnical services and the structural engineer, we might go through an entire budget year without using them. And that could very well happen. But if we do, one of the projects that will be discussed in the budget discussions is working at Fire Station 1. And if the council decides to pursue that project, will be queued up and that will be inserted into the adopted budget with an estimate of the amount of work to do the design work and a rough estimate of how much the construction would be based on the engineer's calculations. That could probably make it into this budget. And then council would have the opportunity to look at that as a CIP project. That probably would be presented as a CIP project and make a determination as to whether or not this is where whether we want to adopt that project or not. Yeah, I'm hoping I answered your question.
I think I understand how it is, because what we may not be using someplace else could be used here, and it's kind of covering all the bases.
Yes.
So that we're ready to go.
Exactly. And
Got it. And there could be a year where it's over budget and you have to come back to council.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
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 And in a project that either went bigger than we thought it was going to go, or we found something we didn't anticipate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Public comment?
Another comment?
This is going to be a line item in the budget we're going to see this coming up month, will it not?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It won't be budgeted till there's a project for it. This $150,000 will not be in the budget. And one of the projects that we're going to be bringing to council during our budget study sessions is Fire Station 1. And that project, if council decides to pursue that project, given all the other projects that we have and the limited amount of money that we have, then that would get put into this year's budget, and there would be, a portion of the $150,000 would be for design services for taking care of that job.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and this is a good discussion to have because, like I said, we've got 5 of these coming through, and the tree services ones is pretty much, that's a no-brainer. If we have trees that we want to go trim, we can get one of our on-call tree trimmers to do it. But with the electrical engineer, the geotechnical, and the structural engineer, that's more for a project that maybe we don't really know about today, but at the same time, we might want to do one in 6 months, and we'll be queued up to do it. That'll be brought before council. If it's not in the approved budget, and you'll be able to take a look at the numbers on that at that time.
Yeah, I think, for me, I think it's going to be important that we kind of identify this potential, because we are coming off of a year in which we had a deficit, and we were fortunate enough to write a check to just not have to go in and carve everything out. So even if it's not a formal line item, if we have 5 open-ended agreements with 5 different professionals, and we know we add them all up, if it's going to be relatively equal, that's, it could be a nut of $700,000 potential spent. And it just seems like we need to at least have some semblance of where that money could be allocated, or where it might be coming from. It, if it doesn't have to be a line item in the budget per se, but it just I think I would love to be able to recognize that this is in the offing, and that this is something that we have queued up if we need it, and we're not quite sure where it's going to be funded, because I think that's for me just important to know.
If I may, when a project is developed, they develop a budget for it. And if they need the services of any of these open contracts, that's put into the cost of that project. And then it's deducted from the agreement. But the cost is in the project, so you'll know what's being spent against these open agreements.
At the appropriate time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this may help too. I think I understand it this way. This allows Public Works to move ahead faster once we've approved a project, that they do not have to go out and get a contract with someone.
Anything further from the council? Is there a motion? Public comment. Lovely.
Tom Conlon here. I just speak up on this because I'm familiar with this contract RFP on-call structure. PG&E uses it. I was an on-call contractor for many years. I do appreciate, though, the concern about making sure that you aren't being surprised by those expenditures being suddenly authorized and popping up in front of you. I don't think it's probably too much to ask of Mike and the Public Works Department to try to make an estimate during budget process when projects are coming forward, to say what fraction of the labor is going to come from these on-call contracts versus having to go out with a special project contract. It may be premature for him to do that tonight on this first one, the structural engineering contract, but I think it's especially important as you start to implement this, which I very much think is a good idea, that you clarify how much is in the CIP, how much of these projects are pre-approved, how much of that labor is going to come out of these standing 3-year contracts. So good discussion tonight.
I'll make a motion.
Please.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the agenda item 7.5 as presented and deliberated.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas.
Aye.
Councilmember Wellander.
Yes.
Councilmember Ding.
Aye.
Councilmember Lowe.
Aye.
Mayor Gurney.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
All right, and then item 7.3 will come back to us next meeting. All right, let's move ahead to public hearing. Ms. Turney.
All right. Thank you, everyone. To give a little bit of a background, the reason for bringing this ordinance before council comes from a couple different places. Part of it is coming from our COVID era alfresco program ending and the desire of the public and council to support sidewalk dining. Part of it comes from our permit tracking system and working through that and identifying some issues through the process and realizing how long it's been since we have really looked at our code very carefully. So please bear with me as I try to paint the bigger picture. So obviously Sonoma has a long history of outdoor dining. We have dining on the public sidewalk as well as on private property. Outdoor dining is governed by two different sections of the development code. So in chapter 12, that is where we have the process for sidewalk seating permits. This is like a license, essentially, a one-year license for a restaurant to utilize our public sidewalks for their adjacent restaurants. The last time this was updated was in 1993. We also have standards in the development code in 1950-060, and this provides standards for all outdoor dining. So whether it's hot monk or red grape, so we're talking sidewalk seating as well as in the back of a restaurant. And the last time that section was updated was in 2011. So the goal right now is to look at those sections and then to take sort of the tail ends of the alfresco program, which allowed outdoor dining pretty much anywhere somebody wanted. And as we wrangled that back in, we identified the need to continue to support our businesses and to expand some of the offerings that are currently limited by the zoning code. One of the issues that we identified is that tasting rooms don't have a comprehensive process. So historically, some tasting rooms have been allowed to have outdoor seating through their individual use permits. However, we cannot currently approve outdoor seating through our sidewalk seating permit process. It is limited to restaurants only. So we had a few tasting rooms during COVID that had outdoor seating and they would like to continue it. And we don't have a mechanism through our one-year annual renewal sidewalk seating permit process. So we are proposing to expand that so that Pangloss and some of the other tasting rooms on the plaza can have outdoor tasting rooms. So there's a few tweaks to our outdoor displays. This is in our zoning code as well. And there's just some archaic organization that we're cleaning up, and really the goal is to just make sure that we still have ADA access, but eliminating some unnecessary standards and bureaucracy. There were some weird setbacks from property lines, and this is all commercial zoning districts with no property setbacks, so just a little bit, some of the standards were goofy. So overall, the goal is to start to reinforce our sidewalk seating permits that we did before COVID. This is an annual process where businesses will come to the city and apply for a sidewalk seating permit. This will protect the city by ensuring that all of the restaurants have adequate insurance, that they meet ADA requirements as well as ABC requirements. And we're trying to loosen the restrictions a little bit to increase the number of businesses that can take advantage of this. And this will now include, as proposed, for restaurants as well as wine tasting facilities, wine bars, and tap rooms. And I mentioned this already, just for the outdoor displays, it's really just making it easier for everyone to follow. So staff's recommendation is for council to introduce the ordinance tonight, including finding that the amendment is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. And staff's available for questions.
Thank you very much. Questions from the council? Ms. Lowe?
In the display section, are currently the displays, the people that have displayed clothing or whatever, are they required to get permits?
They are.
They are.
Mhm.
So there's no like new requirement. No. Okay. I think that's important because
Yeah, this is all, we haven't changed
Right.
any of the processes. These are all the existing. We're trying to make it cleaner, more obvious, so that it's easier for people to follow.
Right, and I like the fact you said it's loosened up a bit because I think some of the businesses felt like it was difficult to navigate the previous process, and some enjoyed the COVID situation, and some were happy that it was over, and everything in between. What if sometimes there's a business that might just have a one-off kind of thing, like we're going to do, like what happens on the first Thursday, like the art walk, and maybe they're going to do you know, something outside or display or whatever. But if it's just a one-time thing, are they still required to do this, or is this something more ongoing?
We could either address an issue like that
As he
through-
walks in the door.
through a temporary use permit for some kind of a pop-up or something
Yeah.
like that. Our permit tracking system is really what's going to be able to hopefully make it a lot easier for restaurants to and businesses to apply and keep everything updated. And so having that mechanism, I think, is what gives us the confidence to expand the provisions a little bit.
And noted that one of our favorite restaurateurs just walked in, but have the businesses been apprised of some of these, or been part of any of these discussions?
Yeah, I'll let Director Gates comment on that.
Hi, yes, yeah, I am Jennifer Gates, Community Development Director. I did work with the Chamber, and we did present the conversation. We started the conversation with a number of the Plaza and Broadway retailers, as well as restaurant owners and wine tasting rooms. And then when we completed the draft of the ordinance, we sent it to the Chamber to send out to their membership to gather any comments.
And this is not just for around the plaza, this is anywhere in the city of Sonoma, correct?
That is correct, but most of our sidewalks that are in front of our dining areas are mostly on Broadway and the plaza themselves.
I'm just thinking of in the Fifth Street West and Studley, that shopping center there, there's outdoor dining there. And because it's not a sidewalk, is that why it's
It's not a
different?
public sidewalk, so it's
Right.
not public right of way, so it'd be
Okay.
treated as outdoor dining versus sidewalk seating. and-
Gotcha.
But we would still look to make sure that there is compliance with ADA and other access to the public for ABC purposes
So
as
like,
well.
like within the marketplace, for example, or in the Sonoma marketplace, that's also not public sidewalk, but they would still have some compliance. I see. Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions for staff?
I have that is, you mentioned an annual application. Each year, do we charge the application fee?
Yeah,
Okay.
there is. So I believe it's $390. So the fee's been about the same the whole time that I've been here. So the process, the fee has been the same. It just with COVID, we haven't been enforcing it.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, basically, this is an extension for our al fresco, program, our parklet program, because the community really like it very much. And we had to discontinue this program 2 years ago. And right now, we got a timely and up-to-date and using your professional language, review those kind of thing. Overall, I think it will help the local business owner, restaurants, a tasting room, and tap room. So overall, it's good. And I have a question regarding. I look at the page 72, and you mentioned about. So that is the minimum 5-foot clearing area of the sidewalk between the seating area and curb of obstruction should be provided. That is, you change it from the 6 foot to the 5 foot.
So the 6.
Yeah, what is the logic?
The 6 feet was from COVID, so that was the
Okay.
COVID language. So the 5-foot clearance is our City of Sonoma standard for our sidewalks in our downtown plaza for ADA access. And the goal is so that 2 people can pass each other on the sidewalk if you have 2 wheelchairs or going side by side, that there would be adequate room.
I see, because Sonoma here, when the sidewalk is so narrow, so the.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
definitely a challenge, and so typically what happens in the process is we do require a little bit of a site plan, and so the businesses do need to think through where can we fit these and meet the standards. But it's the same. I just want to confirm. So this is the same sidewalk seating process that has existed historically, and so
Okay.
we're just making a couple tweaks to simplify and and make sure that we're
Standardized,
using
yeah.
it and enforcing it.
Okay. Have you thought about 40 feet and 48 inches? That is 4 feet. Have you because
So the 5 feet is our adopted City of Sonoma standard for the sidewalk and ADA compliance. So we did have some questions about shrinking it, but the recommendation right now is to just stay with the 5 feet. That's what it has been historically.
okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Christina, could you just clarify, this does not have anything to do with parklets?
No, it has nothing to do with parklets. It is some of the expansions of use, so allowing tasting rooms, tap rooms, things like that, and trying to help businesses to utilize the space comes just from the general intention of the alfresco program and the public desire to indoor or outdoor spaces and have vibrant sidewalks.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah. A couple questions. First one, just for clarity, 5 foot is not ADA, that's city, correct?
It's our City of Sonoma standard for the plaza sidewalks.
And I would like to suggest that we revisit that and bring it back down to 4 feet. And the reason for that is that we have tight walks to begin with. And I'm all for creating ADA access, but I also don't think it's absolutely terrible to have two opposing people come and one has to wait and the other one pass. When you look at our sidewalks, I think they're 12 feet. And we've seen examples of it where they wanted to put more than a deuce out on the sidewalk. Well, you put the deuce out and then you take in consideration like in front of it used to be Zeno's. Anyway, they have some posts then. So you have the post, you got the curb, and I just don't think that we need to be wider than what ADA requires. And again, I think that it just, I want to be complimentary, but this idea that we have to create access so perfectly opposing people meet. So I would like that to be reconsidered. And the other question that I have regarding this, where do the A-board signs fit in?
That is in our sign ordinance. So on the plaza, the temporary signage is not allowed. And it's an ongoing code enforcement issue. The sidewalk seating is an ongoing code enforcement issue. So a lot of these code changes are going to help code enforcement do their job and just
So
clearing up those
in
regulations.
essence, that right now it isn't allowed on the plaza.
The A-frames, yeah.
The A-frames, and so okay. Anyway, I do feel fairly strong about the idea of giving the various restaurateurs or wine tasting a little bit more latitude than having it 5 foot. Particularly if it's a situation where we're imposing it and it is imposed by the state. And again, we don't have the option to expand the sidewalk widths. That's not an option along the plaza. So I think we should be a little, loosen that up a little bit.
I agree, little bit the flexibility for, because I believe that our local business owners are very, very compliant with the different levels, the regulations and the code. Or maybe we can we just remove that is at 5 feet, or just based on some reasonable or space, let the business owner get a more chance to, because they want to take care of everything, because they shouldn't comply with the ADA, they should comply with the insurance, also they shouldn't comply with the other regulations.
I think this would be a good topic for further discussion. I think we would need to talk with our Public Works Director and our Chief Building Official when they come on board and dig in a little bit more to figure out what the right number is.
Okay, yeah. Maybe do little bit more technical research.
All right. Ms. Farrar-Rivas?
I think that Christina answered for me of like, let's just do the research. It was a follow-up of like, what's the best?
All right.
We need to meet ADA. We know that.
Okay. Anything further for staff? No. Thank you, Christina.
You're welcome.
Any public comment?
You guys move fast after the beginning. Just two comments. First off, I would like to thank the city because I found this process to be super collaborative, and they absolutely what was said was done. You know, we did receive a copy of it, and there were some conversations amongst restaurateurs, and I'm just speaking for myself. I think it was well written. I think the signage portion I have no comments on. Two issues. I think both Councilmember Wellander and Councilmember Ding is the 5-foot rule, especially in consideration that I think there's some language in there specifically referencing stanchions or cordoning off of the area, and so you're not really, it's the 5 feet starts from that, so you are removing a significant portion even further. And so I think 48, I'm not an ADA rule guy, I know what I need to do with the business, but I think that was the other one. The other just minute point that I didn't understand is there's a reference in there about not having tables preset, and I didn't understand what that was for. But it says something specific about having tables preset with glasses and what have you. And again, didn't see the use for that. If it's a hygiene issue, we're obviously regulated by the county. If it's an aesthetic issue, I would propose that tables that are set professionally look better, and you'll end up with signs that say something like, hey, reserved, or see the host or hostess or something like that. And I couldn't think of another reason why the city wanted to get involved in that portion. Other than that, I think it's really well written, and I applaud the process, and I thank everybody for the way it was done, because I really think it was as well, and we appreciate it. And we also appreciate the opportunity. We know we're using public space, so thank you.
Thank you.
Hi again, Tom Conlon. Folks will remember that I've spoken in favor of outdoor seating and the parklets idea when it was during COVID times, and I'm pleased to see that that process seemed to work under the emergency conditions we were in. But tonight I want to be clear, because you are being asked to approve that this is compliant with CEQA. I just wanted to be, for the record, clear. I didn't see any counts of your existing number of seats that this policy has historically cumulatively led to over time. So my takeaway from that, my understanding is that this ordinance itself will not lead to any net gain in the number of dining or drinking seats that might be expected to result in additional trips and greenhouse gas emissions. And if that is incorrect, I'd like to have us all be clear on that tonight. As I understand it, each one of these applications that comes forward will be individually assessed for the number of new seats, if it were a number of new seats added. But that probably there's a de minimis level under CEQA, and I don't know what that number is. I thought maybe we should know what it is tonight. And then I'm curious if there's been any thinking about the cumulative effect of this new ordinance change, if that's been, if Christina's looked at that, and just we might have that in front of us tonight as well. So those are my comments. I look forward to having the whole story here. Thanks.
Thank you. Please.
So just wanted to respond a little bit. So we're, this is an existing process, existing sidewalk seating permit. I don't anticipate the number to be changing greatly. We have a number of tasting rooms on the plaza that do have sidewalk seating. It's just not through this process. It's through their own use permits. One of the downsides of that is we don't have a mechanism for making sure that they do have their insurance and things like that. Each project would be evaluated individually. So when a business would come in, we would look at it through the licensing process, and they also need to make sure that they're meeting all of our other zoning code requirements. So if it's for a restaurant, that will have its own use permit and be looked at through CEQA in that case. With CEQA, always we're looking at the change over baseline. Our baseline now is we already have people eating and drinking on the sidewalk, and I don't anticipate this changing. I think most likely it will be somebody who otherwise would be sitting inside and might prefer to be on the sidewalk and just have more of a vibrant environment. Did I get all your questions? Oh, and to comment on John's comment about the tables being preset, that's the existing language. I think the intention was more for disposable paper napkins, things like that, not being left out and causing debris, things like that.
All right, thank you. Okay, I'll bring it back to the council, Mr. Wellander.
Quick question on the fee. Is that cost recovery based?
All fees are cost recovery based for the permits.
Okay, thank you.
So there's not a cost recovery plan, but all fees are cost recovery based on what the cost of doing business is, the permit itself. It's a flat fee.
Right.
It's cost-based.
It's cost-based.
So
So
what's
it's
the
not
difference
a-
between cost-based and cost recovery?
So we have, the city has a process of cost recovery where you do a deposit and then your
Oh,
time.
Okay. Well, I was just trying to
Processing.
understand, you know, it reflects the investment
is a
of
fee,
staff
yeah.
time. Okay.
Anybody else?
That is, you know, also I agree with John's comments, those kind of, I believe that is, some of the wording is unnecessary. Because being the business owner, and you can open the store in the plaza, and you are very professional. A lot of the things I would like to let the business owner make the decision, for example, and or put in the, you know, dishes, or put in the garbage, and the glasses, napkins, you know, not necessarily put in here. We believe, you know, and John or other, they can use their professional standard how to, you know, entertain and the clients. They can do that. Not necessary for out in the city to outline so detailed. If it's so detailed, I think you know that is my suggestion. You know, try to be in this simplize a little bit and let the business owner have the more flexibility to do the day in a good business. Thank you.
Ms. Lowe?
I tend to agree with Councilmember Ding's comments. I don't, I think it makes sense in some places not to put anything out there because, you know, maybe, you know, it's going to get dusty or dirty or knocked over or whatever. And in some cases it might be appropriate. So it's hard from the dais to figure that out. So I know we're just introducing this tonight. We can bring things back. I'm also not in any way opposed to re-looking at the width of the sidewalk and the barrier as was discussed. I mean, I'm absolutely in favor of making sure that everything is accessible to everyone in the city. But I think it possibly could be. I'd like to see what other cities, similar cities, are using for theirs. Yeah, they're using. I'm getting this, which is like not Sandra, shut up. We got 5 minutes, but I think it means 5 feet. Okay, well if that's the standard and that's what we're supposed to do, that's fine. But I thought it was an interesting discussion and worth looking at. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other comments? All right, so we have an ordinance to introduce. Anybody want to make a motion?
I move introduction of the ordinance as described in item 8.1.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
A question. Isn't there a question time between first and second?
Ask your question.
My question is, because this is a first reading, then when it comes back to us, there will be an opportunity for further discussion, correct?
We normally put a second reading on consent, but that can always be pulled. If you want to make substantive changes at the second reading, it'll have to come back again for a third reading.
I'm just suggesting that there was some at least expressed desire to revisit aspects of it And and I'll go back to my 4 foot, 5 foot. I'm more interested in doing what's right for Sonoma, and as long as we're meeting the intent as far as access, we have, again, all you have to do is walk the plaza. We have tight sidewalks. And I just don't, I'd like to see us give a little bit more latitude, provided that we're meeting the sacramental, quote, letter of the law. And I'm just saying, if the motion doesn't include that, I'm just asking if that's something that can be brought back in a second reading. That's my question.
So it can be brought back if that's the direction, and the only caveat would be that if you decide to make that change at that time, it'll come back again for a third reading.
We can come back.
But I heard some relative consensus on some of these items that could be modified now, and Ms. Gates is indicating yes. And so do you have enough information so that you could bring this back for adoption?
Yes. So that's what we were writing back and forth on. So there are 2 items that you have discussed tonight, whether or not there is consensus. So one is to reduce we've already reduced from 6 to 5, and it would be to reduce to 4 feet. That still meets ADA compliance, so we would still meet the letter of the law. The second item is in regards to being specific in regards to the tables themselves being preset, since that was in our section in regards to licensing. It does, and Planning Commission did not discuss that. It does not need to go back to Planning Commission, so you can make that decision tonight. The 5 versus 4 feet was discussed at Planning Commission, so therefore you can also make that decision tonight without going back to Planning Commission.
So you would, if you want to make those changes, then I would ask for a substitute motion to introduce this ordinance with these 2 amendments, and then we'll bring that version back, but we will have already introduced the proper version, and there won't be a third time that we would need to do it.
So, as
So
a
I have a
maker of the
comment.
motion, I withdraw my first motion.
Okay.
And I would like to make a motion to accept 8.1 with the amendments to reduce the sidewalk width and the requirements regarding the preset tables.
Is there a second?
I
I
have a
second.
comment.
Oh, you comment. Go ahead.
All right.
So, I mean, I thought one of the things, and I could be wrong, is that there was going to be some inquiry as to whether or not moving to 4, if there was any other issues besides ADA, discussing with Public Works. If that's not needed, I'm comfortable with moving it to 4, but if there's, I just want to make sure that there's not anything that we're missing that needs to be addressed and come back with a recommendation.
The Public Works Director has no comment at this time. Our goal is to meet the rules, and as far as ADA compliance and our ABC license, we can always bring this back as well if we come into situations where actually it's not working out. Maybe there's a whole block of restaurants and wine tasting and tap rooms, and so there is no room left to do the shifting of people. Maybe we do find that it's too tight, so we can bring that back as well. So this is an ordinance that we can change. We can see how it goes this season, because the goal is to get it out as soon as possible so that we can start activating this season and then bring it back next year. You can always provide direction as well that you want an update on the progress of this program as well.
Then I will second the motion.
Okay. Are we clear on the motion and the second? Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas.
Aye.
Councilmember Wellander.
Yes.
Councilmember Ding.
Aye.
Councilmember Lowe.
Aye.
Mayor Gurney.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
All right, item number 9, regular calendar, city council Discussion, consideration, and possible action to adopt a resolution approving the First Amendment to the employment agreement with the city manager and authorizing the mayor to execute same. Mr. Ruderman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. David Ruderman, your city attorney. Before you is a proposed amendment to the employment agreement with your city manager, as directed by this council. The only thing the amendment does is increase the base salary to $259,600 annually. And for the council's edification, the original contract had his base salary at $236,000. There was a cost of living adjustment that did kick in January. So his current salary is actually $241,985. So that would equate to a 10% increase from the original base salary, or a 7% increase from his current salary as of January 1. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So the actual final salary is the same, whether is the same objective that we had in closed session.
$259,600, and then that will be subject to cost of living adjustments going forward as it would normally.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Ruderman? Call for a motion.
I move to approve approving the First Amendment of Employment Agreement for City Manager David Gurney.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas,
Definitely yes.
Councilmember Wellander,
Yes.
Councilmember Ding,
Aye.
Councilmember Lowe,
Aye.
Mayor Gurney.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
Meeting adjourned.
Yeah, light outside or not?
How wide is a fence?
3 feet.
Just so early one.